So today I want to talk about how everything is turning into a scam. I want to start with a intro of a song I like. Everything is backwards. Everything is upside down. Doctors destroy health. Lawyers destroy justice. Universities destroy knowledge. Governments destroy freedom. The major media destroys information. And religion destroys spirituality. And also, for later, I have a little story from yesterday. I actually talked to a stranger, something I wouldn't really consider to do, but and that also kind of plays all into that thing. And to be fair, right now, if you really put your focus on it, it really seems like everything is turning into a scam. Just starting like with right. Social media, I don't know, because I don't watch pornos anymore since a while, and I use Instagram to wank off. You can judge me on that one, but like the bullshit you see on there, right? And also something DBDR and some other channels started talking about is like how like this like incel black pill scene is like getting infiltrated, like by some basically chads or normies, because it seems to be to become a growing market, if you want to see it like that. And of course it's no wonder, right? And it's also something like if you I watch a lot of DBDR, or Head Flying, what he's called now. Basically I think I actually watched all of his videos at this point. And another YouTube channel I watched today, he was like saying that DVDR is more of like a failed normie. And I would kind of agree, since he's unaware of like the systematic reasons, the system behind that, right? And it's not just the social structure of humans or something like that. Of course that plays a role, but especially he's not in school. Like we are, like I guess most of us are not in school anymore, right? Like theoretically we should be able to break free from that kind of social stance we got put in, but it really seems like the maybe the system is not working against us. I would say differently, but we can just assume it doesn't work against us, but it doesn't help us either, right? And everything seems to be trying to scam. Getting back to that Instagram thing, right? I also see like and also on YouTube I see like femcels, like female incels who are like doing like these videos where they like sit in front of their camera and say how lonely they are and shit like that. And of course you have like the same stuff on Instagram. Of course Instagram is way more scammier, I would say, than YouTube in that sense, because it's one thing to show your face, do 30-minute a video, and it's another thing just to do a picture and do a little caption below it, right? And you see like these captions where they're like women saying, oh, I'm so lonely, oh, nobody wants me, or I haven't I never had a boyfriend, or something like that. Like grown, good-looking, decent woman, right? And then it of course catches like us incels, right? Because we think like, oh wow, I also never had a girlfriend, and maybe I should just slide into the DMs, and but when you like click on the Instagram and you see like the links, then you already know. It is rough times, boys. It's rough times, and like to especially if you're like trying to look for a woman that I guess lives in the same reality as you. I think the odds are pretty bad, and it's not just the odds, it's that you have like a lot of imposters. You have a lot of people pretending to be, and also reminds me of that friend I had from the clinic, the healthcare system also, which is a scam. Luckily not as bad as in America, right? Because at least the Europeans or the Germans, we get it for free. Imagine you have to pay for that fucking Gaslight Central bullshit. It's even more of a scam, right? But of course, it's not like that they're not getting paid. They're scamming the taxes, basically the taxpayers, right? But anyways, I had that Dominic guy, right? And he was also like, like having like this like black pilled life, I guess. But I don't know, man. He was more of like a LARPer, right? He was dressing himself up all in black, listening to heavy metal. And, he told me about his past and something. It was rough, it was rough, not gonna lie. But he didn't went all the way. In the end, he still wanted to be a normie, and he wasn't even the failed normie, right? Because like, I don't know how to say it, right? But it's like you're either committed to it or you're not. I would say it's like hard to describe, but it's like this energy that he had was like of like a trader. Like, he goes along as long as it benefits him, and when it starts to not benefit him, he just moves on or something. My personal vibe. I would never trust him. I would never trust him. I remember when I had like online dating, also a scam, right? I was like chatting with that one girl, and it seemed to go well. Just so for in the end that she just disappeared into nowhere. And I remember when I was like chatting with her, and I was still having like communication with her, and I was really thinking it would be going somewhere, and I might finally get there. And she was also like golf and like listening to like golf classics. She showed me, she said like what kind of people she listens to. I had like a little look-see around what these people make, what kind of music they make. And it was like kind of similar to the stuff that Dominic guy was enjoying. And then I was like, alright, I don't know. And because like I was like meeting up with him, and I was telling him about how it's going with her. But I was like, I'm really honest. When I think about something, I maybe wait a meeting or some. But then I tell him what I think, and I think that if it goes somewhere, I don't know if I would want for him like to like meet up as three or something. I told him in his face that I don't trust him. That because like he also has a girlfriend. That was basically right the reason why we're not friends anymore. Or, I mean, to be fair, that we didn't even got friends in the first place. Because he had that girlfriend, but he was like super, super right-wing, like super, super right-wing, like really, really hard. And the girlfriend he has was like, like almost stereotypical. Like, I think it was not blue hair, I think it was green hair. And she was like a little bit depressed, but in the end she was really left. She had like friends who were really on the left side, and it was like fuck Nazis and shit like that. So usually like the complete opposite spectrum of that Dominic guy. But he didn't care, I guess. And of course when because the girl I was riding with, she was based, she was based, and she was kind of like at least knowing to a certain degree what is going on. And of course I was like, that fucking Dominic guy will try to, flirt with her or something. So, I don't know. Stuff like that. Going back to the point, everything is a scam. Like the online dating, right? And to be fair, let's define what is a scam. What is a scam in its pure form? I think a scam in its pure form is a bad trade for you that pretends to be a good trade, right? And it's not always about money. Sometimes I think the scam also goes into different levels, right? Because what does online dating, what does Instagram do with us, right? Or maybe not with us, or maybe not with the schizos, right? We are fighting against that bullshit, but there's a lot of people just going along. And online dating, social media, it creates a new ground which people adapt to, right? And if you look into online dating, maybe you have better experiences than me, but like 90% of the profiles, they're just all the same. They're just all the same. It's like one or two pictures, And then it's because I was using. I mean, I tried different dating shit, but like the last thing I did was that bullshit again. Lavu, yeah. I don't know. Like it doesn't matter, right? They're all the same. But because also I was starting and thinking it was different or something. Because Dominic told me it was different, it was not. It's just the same. Maybe like the kind of people that go there. It was not as bad as Tinder, but like in the end, the apps, they all work the same, right? And you had like these like presetted questions you could answer, and there were some rather okay ones, and then there were like some really stupid ones. And I remember like the one that always comes into my mind is cats or dogs, cats or dogs, and every fucking woman answered that question, or not every, but 90% of the profiles had like cats or dogs, right? And then they say if cats or dogs, um, which I think is like, I don't know, mate. I don't know. To be fair, I'm a dog person, but like I don't know, man. I mean, like you could write something important, and then the text that they write is like also always like it's like I want somebody loyal, this, and that's it. You know, it's like really really basic. And to be fair, I mean, like if you put yourself into a woman, especially a normie woman, I mean, to be fair, I can't relate so hard with women, but from what I've heard is that they are more on the emotional side and they're more into feeling than to thinking. And I think like that's like a problem men have to a certain degree, that our thoughts kind of cloud our emotions. That maybe we are completely dissatisfied with a woman, but we think to ourselves, right, but she has this and this and this. Disregarding the emotional response, the intuition. And I think, I mean, if I would be a woman, I mean, I see what kind of men are walking around, right? Of course, I would be dissatisfied. I mean, if you look like at the normie guys, and also, yeah, from the fucking Instagram bullshit, something like these, like women are talking about, or like a kind of new term that has come up as the Labrador dude, or like the Labrador archetype. And I mean, it's just disgusting. I mean, of course, yeah, it could be a Chihuahua, but Labrador, you know, like this, like completely non-offensive. Like a Labrador is like you know, like I'm really down into like this like dog rabbit hole. You know, what is a real dog? It's the same question for what is a real man, right? And you can see a lot of similarities in how dogs developed over the last hundreds of years, and the same for humans, right? Where we have been domesticated to a point where we don't even it doesn't even resemble our nature anymore. I mean, it's not a problem that, you know, I mean, of course, dogs are not wolves, right? But if a dog has like a territory, if a dog has like somebody to protect, somebody to work for, or like to be a part of something, you know, then it still resembles, you know, to a certain degree, the life of a wolf. It's of course a domesticated one. It's an artificial. It's redesigned, but it still has, right, the origin in mind. And that's something with, like, of course, the new world dogs, if you want to see it like that, where it has completely gone off the rails, right? Where the kind of dogs, and also the Labrador, right? I mean, at least the Labrador still looks like, and I mean, I think it's actually kind of pinpointed, right? It still resembles a real dog, but it is not. A Labrador is not a real dog. A Labrador doesn't really have this like territory thing, and I mean, like all these like kind of traits that really make a real dog a dog. Is not in the Labrador, because that's why the Labrador is such a popular choice, especially for families, because it's such an inoffensive dog. It's really easy to maintain. It's not like if you let him sit at home that he will fuck up your couch or something, right? It's an easy play, especially for a family, right? Because then you probably don't have the time and the care to really raise a dog. I mean, especially if you have kids to raise on the side quest, you don't want to have a dog to raise on top, right? And instead of just accepting that okay, maybe I first have to raise my kids and then get a dog, or first get a dog and then get the kids, or something like that. Of course, people probably don't think too much about it, right? But yeah, the Labrador archetype. I mean, it's like they want a guy that resembles a man, but that is completely domesticated to a point where he is not a man anymore, right? And it just shows. I think, where it's all heading, right? And yeah, you can say, oh, it's just Instagram, right? It's just that kind of sphere, but I mean, just look around you, man. Just look around you how often, especially the woman, the man, of course, as well, but we're trying to focus on the woman right now. How often they look on their phones, right? And like Instagram or social media sites, and because I don't think like that they're playing Clash Royale. I don't think that they are watching YouTube videos of some black-pilled guys. I don't think they watch like a fucking history class or something. I don't think that they're going to look for alternative information or something like that. I think they usually are on social media, right? Because it catches the more emotional side of us than the rational side. There's not much rational. There's not much my intellect can gain from Instagram. Of course, yeah, I use it for wanking off, right? But I think from the intellectual value, I don't think it gets much better. I mean, to be fair, maybe there's some cool Instagram channels with alternative information, right? But I think like most of it is not. And then yeah, I mean, this like it doesn't impact it, right? It's like a meta. Like this whole Instagram social media shit, it's like a meta. And I think because like we black-pilled guys, I think we also have a meta, right? I mean, like that now the channels are start talking about like the imposters, the infiltrators, it's also a meta, right? Because it's our ground and our ground is changing, and when the ground is changing, we need to adapt, and then we start talking about it. It's of course way more organic than the other battleground that is called the woman's side of Instagram. But it's important to see the similarities. Yeah, but I don't know, mate. Getting back to the main topic, everything is a scam. When I go out, and you see like the advertisements, I live in Berlin, there's like a lot of papers they hang around, posters and like advertisements and like little concerts, and I mean there's decent stuff, I guess. It's not like I said, like everything is turning into a scam. It's not that everything is a scam as a whole, but I really feel like everything is turning into it. And like also a thought I had was when like a lot of these scams are targeted, like most of the scams especially are targeted for normies, right? I mean, we've been talking about like the fake fem cells and shit like that. So like it's not that the black-pilled, the incel guys, that our kind of sphere doesn't have scammers, right? Especially because, right, we have been talking about it. It seems like the market is getting bigger. Imposters are coming. More and more people are trying to scam us, or trying to profit on our unfulfilled desires. But like all the new advertisement, like I don't have YouTube Premium anymore, so like all the bullshit I see over there, I know it's all a scam. One way or the other, right? It can be a bank, it can be some fucking water filters, air up, or whatever the new fucking shit is supposed to be. Also, something we had in Germany, and I think it's probably a trend that came over from America, is that influencers start. Yeah. I think it started like with like a big thing was like Shirin David. Shirin David had like a iced tea or some bullshit like that, right? And then it also came over to Germany, where some German influencers, some how you say, celebrities, started making like their own drinks, and everyone is like talking about it for like a couple months, and then it's gone from the shelves, and never to be spoken of again. And like if you really go back, if you really observe it, you can just see how many of these things are, especially like in pop culture, like this fucking chaos magic 6-7 shit, right? Also the same thing. Like, yeah, now everyone is talking about it, and it will slowly cool down, and then it's completely gone off the earth, right? Like so many other trends before it, and it's just, it's like from my schizo perspective, it just really seems like chaos magic, to keep us in the loop, to keep us in our tunnel vision, the current thing, how I like to say, the current thing. And the current thing seems to be a scam, and then you like get scammed, and and then the new current thing is there, and it's just happening all over again, just like a newborn baby. It just happens every day. And when you have like all these like traps for normies, and also like on different, it's not, like I said, it's not always about money. Sometimes it's also about deception, right? Politics is mainly a big scam. Also, of course, with the right wing, with the controlled opposition, all the psyops are in this, like basically also a scam, right? Christianity is a scam. It maybe doesn't scam your money, not anymore at least, but right, it scams you on a different side. It is a bad trade for you, because you basically use your ability to fight, you use your inner warrior, and you replace it like with something that maybe preserves you but doesn't preserve your outside. It's like my dad, right? He's a Christian, and like it really, in my point of view, I think it really stands in the way. It really stands in the way, because you have like these like Gutmensch attributes, right? Like Christians always want to be the good guy, and they like it's like they cannot understand that sometimes also the good guy has to be a bit rough. Life asks for a lot of things, and it's not all just about being nice. And I mean, I think that's something that really helped to understand this, like that I remember when I was growing up, when I was in puberty, there was like already this like nice guy, or like I think it was like 2016, 18 around, where this like nice guy thing really started popping off. You had like this meme, this OG meme with that big guy with the hat, where he's like with the hand on top of it. And I mean, to be fair, that helped me a bit to understand that like always being nice doesn't maybe get you far, especially as a guy. Either way, with all of these scams you have for the normies, it turns the normies into scams themselves, into a trap, right? And also something I always are thinking about, it's not that normies are our enemies, but they're not our allies either, which is really messed up, right? Because the normies are getting a bit turned against us, right? But I don't think that it needs to be that way, right? Of course, you have like this, that they're trying to, how you say, maintain the system, right? That they become agents for the system, and the schizo is the natural enemy, and so they fight him off. But I I don't feel like that has to be that way. I really feel like that, like I always like to say, that there are really, really smart people smarter than probably all of us, who figured this shit out over generations, who didn't had wars to destroy generational knowledge. So they have gotten to a point where they have a pretty well understanding of how shit is going on this planet and how to work with it, right? But yeah, I don't know, when you like talk to Normie and what's like the last current thing was like the World Cup, right? The World Cup was like the last current thing, and it's also a scam, right? Of course, a scam for money, in that case as well, but also a scam on a different level again, where I remember I was talking with my dad about how, I mean, of course, we Germans have our own problem with like national pride and shit, right? But like I was telling to him, it's like social engineering. It's like they and in Germany, it's really obvious, because it's not since yesterday. They did it basically since, I don't know, like basically the 60s or something. That our national pride is, being closed off inside this like football sphere. In football we can be, oh, the Germans, let's win, let's be the greatest, German efficiency, everything like that, and then we can dress up in uniforms and shit like that. Then we can swing our flag. But when the World Cup ends, it's like all back to normal, and everybody basically forgot in which country they live. And my father said, yeah, I mean, he likes it that way. He thinks it's good that way, that we're only proud about Germany inside of football. He thinks that's a good thing. I don't know. And I mean, if you don't understand that it's not about nation in that kind of sense, it's more about community, right? It's more about the layers of Vertrauen, what's the fucking English word? Trust. Yeah, trust. It's the layers of trust, right? I don't know if I talked about it before here, but something that I found out for myself is that the first layer is yourself. Yourself should be the first one you should trust the most. And I think especially the schizos knows that even that is problematic. Even trusting yourself, even the first layer of trust can be problematic. The second layer is your blood, right? Your family, people who are bound to you. And over the blood you have your like local community, your school, your friends, teachers, the friends of your parents, right? You're like reachable social structure. And then it can go above, there can be multiple layers of trust depending on how the world is structured. The next layer above that should be the tribe, maybe you don't know everyone of the tribe, but they all are like part of the gang, if you want to see it like that. And that's something that can be seen in multiple ways. It can either be just a city, it could be your county, your local area. But you could also already get into the national level. But if you look at America, if you look at Europe, right, especially Europe, I mean, America is always a different story, but especially in Europe, right, it's not like true German in that sense. To be German is already like a simplification of things, right? Because we still have our local communities. It's not like that people in Berlin or people from the north are like the people from the south, right? We still have like these like more like local communities with their kind of backstory and stuff like that. And then we just, have agreed at a certain point in history, also because of certain reasons, we have decided to how you want to say, to unify the tribes and remind ourselves, or like put up a concept that maybe it fits a size that fits all, basically a uniform, right? either way, I'm getting really off track, right? But it's something really interesting to think about the layers of trust. And the higher the layer of trust is, the more problematic it can be, to be fair, right? And something I see there's like this like community of, in German they're called Libertär. I don't know, I don't think it's liberal in English, but it's like they are like really anti-capitalism, and they basically also kind of want to like cut down the globalization and go back to community life. And from what I've gathered, some of them at least, I guess, are also really against like state control and stuff like that. I think it also goes into this flag with the snake and stuff like that. It's like yellow flag with the snake on it. And I think it kind of forgets about the accomplishment behind having a nation, you know. And right now, you know, they kind of, like I said, like the world is really mad and upside down, because on the one hand, they want to destroy national feeling, local community feeling. They want to like cut us off from our past, from our ancestors, from our traditions. But on the other side, they want to have the highest layer of trust, which basically is a one world government, a world where, you know, everyone sees themselves as part of humanity or something like that. You know, you're not a German anymore, you're not a Bavarian anymore. You're just a people, like a person from planet Earth, which also, of course, reminds me of taking drugs, taking LSD, or like being really high, where you get into this like kind of state where, you know, oh, I'm just a human, you know, I'm just a person on human Earth, you know. I mean, it's not false, right? But it really disregards a lot of other things. And it kind of is like if you would take like a beautiful, or maybe not beautiful, but like take a painting and just scrub it down until it's just a blank white page, you know. I guess if you're proud of something like that, if you want to be a blank page, go for it. But yeah, I don't know, mate. We rambled a lot. I just want to finish off with a little story. I've been taking some strolls in the last couple of days, trying to, you know, get my boots out there, boots on the ground, and you know, maybe, you know, try to maybe have some luck or something, you know, see something nice, you know, maybe find myself the love I deserve or something like that. Either way, there was this like old kind of shaman looking guy who was like always in the morning sitting at like the same table, and he was like having like these cards laid out, like these like tarot cards, and like I said, like old guy, like long gray hair, had like a white thin shirt on and like some stones around his neck or something, and he looked like interesting, and he looked like a conscious person. He looked like you know, like aware or something, and interesting. And you know, I mean, my mother was also like, you know, into that like shaman kind of stuff. So I don't know. I guess, you know, my you know, it feels a bit familiar, you know. And I was like having like some eye contact with him before, and today, like yesterday, I was like thinking, hey, I don't know, if I see that dude again, maybe I just talk to him, you know, maybe just like at first, like you know, talking with a stranger on the street might help to get my anxiety a bit more down or something, get some practice, I don't know. So I saw him yesterday, and I was like asking him, hey, may I have a seat? And he was like really invited and saying, yeah. And and then I was like asking him about like the cards, what he's like doing, what he's like kind of up to. I don't know, I think we have been speaking for like 2.5 or maybe 3 hours or something. So we'll try to reduce it to the most necessary. He was 65 years old. He was retired, and he basically told me that right now, I mean, I don't know, I think it was quite telling. He was saying that, I mean, he's sitting here and he's like seeing like a bunch of young, beautiful girls, and he has like to learn to let loose, basically. And that was just an example, but like he's like getting old and he's like trying to let loose. And I was like asking him, like preparing for death. And he was saying, yeah, not really, right? But yeah, and then like the cards he had laid out, he told me that, on this journey of, realizing and letting go, becoming old, letting things behind, these cards help him to remind himself of certain things, right? And since these like cards, these like shaman things, they work every time. Like every card works for every single day. Like I would personally say. Because my mom is like really into that kind of stuff, she also has been laying out cards for me, doing like these like, or what you call them, like spiritual animals and stuff like that. So I kind of know, how that stuff is rolling, and also questionable, maybe a scam. I don't know. I mean, like in the end, what does it give you? Do you really need cards to remind yourself? Do you really need because I can understand it, I can understand it. I mean, like a lot of people have other struggles, a lot of people are not like fully committed on their journey, that they think about it basically completely non-stop, 24/7, especially because you basically would need to be completely 24/7 lonely for that, because that's kind of hard to do when you're like occupied with like talking with somebody. So I don't know. You could I was also like binge watching Schizo Dumps, and Schizo Dumps had like a video where he was questioning tarot cards, and if there might be not just a different form of chaos magic. And I can see it. I think chaos is not theoretically bad, right? I think you could use it both ways. It can help, it cannot, but I don't think you should depend on it, right? Like if this guy like would lose the cards and then wouldn't be able to do his journey anymore, or if then the process would stop, then I would be kind of questioning, if the cards help, it's nice, right? It's not like that I'm staring at a blank wall 24/7. But I don't need cards to remind myself of certain things. I just binge watch YouTube for a while, and that basically gives me a lot of stuff to think about, a lot of stuff that reminds myself again of certain things. And that like pattern recognition, right? Maybe that's kind of the scam in these tarot cards, that kind of messes up your pattern recognition, right? Because then you see the patterns more in the cards than in the actual patterns or something like that. But to be fair, I don't do it. I also I don't want to do it. I don't want to have like these like cards. I don't know. It just doesn't feel right for me. It just feels like I would know like some German words for it, but it just doesn't feel so right. It just what would be a good English word? Like I don't know, like unprofessional. It just seems kind of unprofessional. Either way, back to the point. Talking with that guy. And then I was like asking him if he's like lonely or something like that, or he lives alone, and then I could already kind of tell from the vibe, from how he was like speaking, that he was never really much alone, and that he doesn't want to be perceived as like a lonely loser. And so the first thing he said was, oh, no, I had this and this and this and this, and And he was like, I have like a daughter. She's not really my daughter, but I call her my daughter or something like that. Stuff like that. I don't know. But yeah, like right now, today, or since a couple of years, he is alone. And he uses that time alone also, of course, for this like kind of journey. But it really seems like more of a guy who had lived a decent, happy life. He was born in West Germany, so he is kind of like my dad, just 10 years older. And I mean, he's different, right? My dad is just like the king of the normies. And he was different. But he was like these I don't know, this like new age alternative thing. Like he was like a Christian without knowing to be a Christian, right? Because he was praising love and stuff like that all the time. And he was like a social worker. And we talked about like some personal stuff, and then it kind of went over to politics. And that's when things started to get a bit uncomfortable for me. I didn't show any of my discomfort, but maybe he could tell. I don't think so. But he was like saying some things that I don't know. He was like started talking about like how bad Trump is, how bad Putin is, and how these fuckers, I don't know how to say it right, but like normies think that they run the world. Normies think that like Trump and Putin and Friedrich Merz and what these fuckers are all called, that they run the world. And it's like I try to tell him, I think those are just actors. I think they're just puppets. I think that all they do is just they work for somebody. It's not that everybody works for them. It's like they work for the ones everyone is working for. And then he was like saying, yeah, I know. And I was like, okay, I guess you know. And then I didn't say that. I just thought to myself, okay, then I guess your statement was just wrongly put, or maybe he was trying to fit into like he was like thinking that I'm like a normie, and he maybe tried to, I don't know. So I was asking like a little bit more questions, but you could really tell he didn't know. Like he didn't know. In the end, it was Putin and Trump, and and then we started talking about the AfD, because he said, we talked about like how everyone is like turning like stupid, basically, how people, especially like people out of my generations, younger persons, are all just looking onto their phone. He was making this example that when he was young, he was told to, when you sit in the S-Bahn, when you sit in the public traffic, and an old woman, like a grandma comes around, that you as a young boy, you give up your seat for that old person so she can sit, right? And he was like saying that young persons, they all just look on their phones with earplugs in, and they just don't really realize what is going around them, right? And it's like it has gotten to a complete normal siding. It's like completely normal at this point that people are like completely disconnected from reality. Also, like if you want to see it as in the big picture, right? My thesis is that life and planet Earth is not a prison planet from the start. I think it's getting turned into that. I think it's like a big construction site we're living in right now. I kind of picture myself the second Death Star from Star Wars, this like big globe-shaped construction site, right? It's getting turned into a prison planet. It's getting turned into a luge farm. It's getting turned into a big scam. Because what could be the biggest scam? The biggest scam could be a reality where the whole point of it is to disconnect from it, to be as far away from reality as possible, to live as much in your dreams as you can, And that's the complete opposite point of what reality should be. The reality here, the planet should be to live our dreams, right? Instead of just dreaming our dreams. We should be living them. Either way. talking with that guy, he was saying, like, we were like agreeing on like how everything, like, the people are changing, and he was saying that, yeah, that's also like the people the people have completely lost their empathy, and so that's why the AfD, which is the right wing upcoming party in Germany, it's basically the same as in every other European country. But of course, we have it a bit differently because, like, you can just say they're Nazis and it works, right? And he said, like, that's why they have so many voters, because people just lost their empathy. And then I was like, okay, now we're getting into tough stuff, right? Because, like, I'm thinking instantly to myself, yeah, like, I see. You have empathy, but not for your own people. You have empathy for... Like, then I instantly just realized I'm talking to a brainwashed person. And because I know that from my dad, I know that from different boomers, right? Especially from West Germany, where they have like empathy for everyone else except themselves, right? And also this like new age lefty stuff, we need to respect every culture except ours. All right. Every culture is the greatest, and we need to have empathy for all those. And right, and we have so privileged white asses that we don't need empathy, right? We don't need to care for ourselves because I guess we have everything, and we should be starting to give some to the world. And he was like continuing on and saying, like all these like war refugees, people fleeing from war, and I don't even know how. I didn't talk about it instantly. I wanted to. I waited for like a good point to step into that, and then I was like asking him a couple of sentences later, what is his problem with the AfD? Like what concerns him about it? And he said that. He started with like remigration. That's like a big topic, political term right now that's being thrown around since a couple of years. The AfD came up with this term, remigration. And he said, yeah, this word, and that our Verfassungsschutz, which is what you call them, they're like the anti-Nazi police, and the anti-Nazi police has said that remigration is like a Nazi phrase. We have different words for it, because we live in an idiocracy. They have neatly nice words to phrase it correctly, but in the end, that's what it boils down to. The anti-Nazi police says it's a Nazi term. And I was like saying, okay, I mean, it's nice that they say that, but do you think it's a Nazi term, or what makes you think it is? And he said, well, just the word, remigration. And I mean, yeah, what's the problem? I mean, you can immigrate and you could theoretically remigrate, right? And he was like saying, yeah, but like, like all these war refugees that come over, and I was like instantly cutting him off. I was saying, I mean, there's like a difference between a refugee and a migrant, right? Because migrants are coming over with the expectation to immigrate and to become part of the Germans, like of Germany. Maybe not of the German culture, I mean, it's, I guess, decided for them, but to become part of this country. That's a migrant. And the refugee is fleeing from his home because there's war, and then he stays here at a safe place until the war is over, and then he goes back home. That's like the concept of a refugee, and that's like kind of the problem where the lines have been blurred so much because respectively because for a reason we cannot tell the difference between a migrant and a refugee because a lot of refugees are turning into migrants, right? And then he was like asking me, are you sure about that? Are you certain about that? And I was like, about what? About that the words mean what they say they are, that there's like a difference? And he was like saying, yeah. I was saying, yeah. I mean, and it's kind of funny because a bit later in our conversation, I was coming up with the term war, right? because I like to talk about the invisible war, the spiritual world war we are in right now, and that we need to fight. And he was like saying, like, he doesn't like that. He thinks fighting and war is the stupidest kind of solving a problem or something like that. And I say, yeah, I mean, to a certain point, I do agree with you, right? But if everything goes to shit, right, and it's the last option, and if who fight can lose, who doesn't fight already lost. And especially if your enemy doesn't really like talking to you, right? And also on another level again, it is kind of funny because the spiritual war, the invisible war, is mainly about words, right? Of course, it in the end manifests also into, if you want to see it like that, migrants fucking the 12-year-old of the village or something like that, right? You could also theoretically see it like that. There is like, it's hard to see, I would say. It's like hard to border how much is materializing from that war, but it's a lot, right? How our architecture has been completely going to shit. How the images of the city, the scene has completely been completely spiritually depraved, right? I think that's a bit more graspable, right? But there's of course also material things changing because of this war, and it also comes down to violence in the end, right? I mean, in America, like this, like kind of, oh, come on, sometimes it's funky, the war, like not the war, the like tensions between like blacks and whites in America. Also the tensions between the left and right in Europe. That's, all conflict, all, like this like stupid fighting. I think when he thinks about fighting and war, he thinks about people shooting each other just because they got told to, right? And yeah, to a certain degree, I do agree. But I mean, he agreed also with me and said that, I guess, like, when there's like nothing else to do, then I guess, then you should. And if he really would go down the rabbit holes, if he really would understand how fucking close we are, to not even be able to fight this war anymore, how close we are to losing this, how close we are to slavery, how close we are to, losing free spirits, then he would understand, but he doesn't. He doesn't perceive reality this bad. In the end, he's a good mensch, so he has to cope with positive thoughts. He cannot go to bed with the thought that maybe everything is just going to shit and there's probably nothing he could do about it. Yeah, but that's, I mean, bro, that's like, that's war, man. That's like how it is, And he was like asking me how this war looks, how the fighting in this war looks, and I was like trying to not sound too schizo about it, right? And he didn't really got where I was coming from. I think, like, I don't know. I mean, like, he seemed to be somewhat limited in his visions. So I think in the end he probably just thought that I'm like a extreme rightist or something who wants to, I don't know, do a school shooting or something, right? Because, and like, I also think that, like, those like right or supposed right wingers who go into like a mosque or something and shoot down some Arabs, I don't think they're not working for us. I mean, maybe I would consider myself right-wing, but to be fair, I don't want to, be part of a wing, especially not in this kind of system. But of course, the right wing has way more reasonable people, especially in the lower ranks, than on the left side. But like, of course, they're not working for us. Also, I would personally argue that, it would be pretty easy to demonize the right even further, right? Because, yeah, um, that's like the image they want to, give the normies, that, if you go too far down the right-wing rabbit hole, you become right extremist, then you will get a rifle and shoot down some other races or something. And then your Nazi homies will celebrate you for that, which I don't think is the case, right? Everyone, even Nazis, yeah, like even like hardcore people, like, because I would, like, in the end, it's like hard with the wording, right? But like, let's say not a Nazi, a white supremacist, even a white supremacist would understand that at this point, at this stage of war, he is not really, he is, when he's shooting down some other cultures or something like that, he's not really shooting down them, he's shooting down himself, right? Because the media will instantly, it will give more fuel to burning down the white race than to burn down any other one. And to be fair, like, if you think about it, it shouldn't be about killing each other. Maybe it should be about, like, replacing, yeah. And because there's still a lot of space on the world, and I don't know. In the end, let's get back to the point. So we started talking about this, like, AfD stuff, and he started to get uncomfortable, right? Because he said there's like a right-wing celebrity in Germany, everyone knows, he's called Björn Höcke, and this Björn Höcke guy can be legally called a Nazi, which is, again, funny, right? I don't know if he's like the only person in the country or something, but I think he is, as far as I know, the only one, especially politician, who can be legally called a Nazi. So even in the parliament, even in the high levels of politics, they can just say Björn Höcke is a Nazi. And that's completely legal because of a court he lost, like a court case he lost. And to give some back information real quick, so this guy, he's like a politician for the AfD. He's like an OG, if you want to see it like that. He is in the game for quite some time. So he's like kind of the face of or was the face of the AfD for a while. He's like, I think he used to be like a history teacher or something like that. I don't know too much about him, to be fair. I don't remember. I watched some interviews. Anyways, so this guy had been accused of being a Nazi or something like that, and our anti-Nazi police was investigating, and because they really wanted to get him like out of the game, or to get rid of him, or I don't know, to get like a dehumiliation ritual going or something, to dehumanize him. And then they got him to court because he said everything for Germany. That's it. Like, that's the thing why they got the court case. The whole court case was if he's a Nazi, and the thing they got him with was everything for Germany, or in German, alles für Deutschland. That was the sentence that got him the court case lost. He had to pay 10,000 euros. He had this marking, that this like thing that everybody can call him a Nazi legally now. And the third thing was that they built a Holocaust memorial in front of his house. Yet I think even he had a nice view or something, and I think they built it in front of the view he had outside of his house or something, if I remember correctly, but something along those lines. Does that sound like justice? Does that sound professional? No, that sounds like something Nazis would do. That sounds like something actual fascists would do in a fascistic system where it's not about justice, it's not about the law, it's about, the ideology. And So he said, yeah, AfD, whatever, but Björn Höcke is a Nazi. And even in the parliament, they can call him a Nazi, right? Because our anti-Nazi police has said so. And I was like, okay, yeah, do you know the court case? You know what they got him for? You know how this thing went over with? And he said, well, our anti-Nazi police is one of the highest institutions in this country. And I trust them. And I said, it's okay. So you just blindly trust. I could just tell you about it. But he said, yeah, no, I trust them. I don't need to know about it. And that, I think, also was kind of telling, right? There you can see he's not interested in truth. He's not interested in perceiving reality as it is. Like, he has, like, certain spots where he knows he's better off with knowing less, interestingly enough. And, yeah, and then, I don't know, in the end, to kind of finish it all off, we were like talking about what kind of, how it could change, right? And my main thing is that the system won't regulate itself. It won't happen. We have been, how long have we been waiting for the system to regulate itself, for good politicians coming back into politics, for corporations to be more ethical, to things to become less scammy, right? For more justice to come in. The system won't regulate itself. If you understand how, or if you maybe not understand, but if you look into how the government, the party system works, the banking and the financial system works, the universities and like the schooling, the knowledge system works, you see how it's like kind of connected to one another, and you can kind of see how just theoretically they could be a power controlling most of reality. There is a system in place that theoretically has the place for like a kind of octopus to like have its tentacles in every kind of part of reality of life, right? You see how that could be possible. And then you also see that you have like these like secret organizations where like every actor, every politician is like part of that stuff, right? And then it just kind of gets to a point where it seems like kind of obvious, everything would be there, and the only question, every everything is like set in place for a conspiracy, and the only question is if it is actually happening. It's not, for me at this point, it's not a question if a conspiracy is possible. It is possible. Then the only question is if they actually do it. And if you see the Epstein files, if you see what certain kind of groups of people think, you see motive, you see possibility, and I mean, like, to be fair, I mean, you see it going on all the time, right? The big scammers. Yeah, and so the system won't regulate itself. And at this point, there can only be an individual changing it. There could only be a person. We would need a person that would be that could stand over the law, that has so much trust of the people, or the people trust him so much that the people agree to have somebody who stands above the law. Right? I mean, in America, they kind of have that, but, I mean, like I said, if you see how a president is made, you can already see why you don't have a good president in America, right? Because it's just like the party system in Europe, it's flawed. It's flawed. It's like you have to basically have a company that is profit-orientated to just get in the race first, You need like millions of dollars to just start a campaign, and then you need to compete with people having more money than you, like the bad guys, right? And so a good guy will never win. It just, like, not even win, like a good guy won't even enter the race of becoming a president, right? And the same for Europe, and I guess most democracies, right? The good guys will never, ever even closely get to a kind of position of power. And he said, okay, yeah, I can understand. I guess we need like kind of a king, and then he said, or maybe a Führer. And then he said, but I don't want to disturb you. And I said, no, that's completely fine, mate, that's completely fine. Then he was looking a bit shocked. But he said, like, yeah, I mean, like, also this kind of person needs to kind of get into the stage, right? And he was like asking me, like, how do you think, let's say you would do it, like with who would you do it? And I said, like, alone. Like, all I need is like my Eve, just a girl to get like the second part of reality, or the female part of reality. And then I will do my a manifesto, a Bible, a Mein Kampf, a second Mein Kampf, and trying to clear things up, with words, right? With words and image and sound. And he said to me, so you have it all figured out. And he said that in this like kind of way, right? Like a 65-year-old pseudo shaman talking to a 24-year-old. Like, you have figured it all out, and I was like saying, no, I'm like trying to push it away, I'm trying to, be humble about it. But he like kind of cut me off, and then he said, okay, I think at this point it's really enough for me. And then he like, because like all the time we have been speaking, he was like really looking a lot at me, he was like really, with his body language, he was really invitive. He was really into the conversation, but at this point, and maybe it was the Mein Kampf part, maybe I shouldn't have said that, but I don't know if it did much to it. But in the end, he like, his body and everything just moved away from me, and he just told me on different kind of levels that he probably doesn't want to see me again. And I was like giving him my hand and saying, that's okay, but thanks for the respect on both sides. And he wasn't really, he just wanted to go away, interestingly. And I had really, really bad feeling, like going away from it, because I felt like, and I want to find somebody I can share my whole life with, and not even like a 65-year-old, alternative guy can stand me, with my takes. And especially, like, I was just talking to him, right? And it was already too much for him. Because, like, yeah, most people cannot, like, think about concepts. I don't know, like, think outside of the box, or see any interest in that, right? If I would be talking to, like, a communist who wants to do something like I do or something, I think, maybe it's a different thing, but I don't know, like, I really like to talk, like, I remember when I was on my travels, I met some pretty crazy people, and I like talking with crazy people, I like hearing when people do something out of the ordinary, when people are, like, developing, like, a real character, when they're actually talking from their own mind, from their own free spirit. And yeah, I don't know. Like, it was nice talking to him, okay at some point. But to be fair, I also don't know if I would want to do it again. He seems to be a pretty normal dude. He seems to be like a pretty normal dude, maybe a bit more conscious than the others, but not at the point where he could think about different aspects. And also, I thought about, like, what could I take away? Like, what was new, what he told me? And, like, the only thing that was new is he said that our current guy, Friedrich Merz, the CDU, that, like, this, like, kind of party, that they're basically, like, exit scamming, because they know that the AfD will take over in a couple of years, and they will more and more, go down as a party. And so that's why they do the stuff they do right now, to basically, exit scam before they don't have the power anymore. I don't know. like I said, I think they're all puppets, even the higher ranking AfD politicians. So in the end, I think they will do what they want with us. The AfD could also just say, oh, the Germans need to work harder. That's like a little Poinski right now, where Friedrich Merz is getting a lot of hate in Germany because he's like saying, oh, the Germans don't work enough and shit like that. And I mean, just think about it, it's so stupid. Like, we used to, like, there was like mainly just one gender. Like, mainly there was only half of us working. And it worked for centuries. And then the war came, or like after the war, and to be fair, it started with the war, when also a lot of women had to work. And then after the war, it just kind of continued. In the West, not so much as in the East, right? But now in like the world we live in right now, like both genders just work. And we have like so much workforce as never, basically. And we're making also, like, if you look at the numbers, we're making a lot of money. It's not like that we don't make enough money. The main problem is that a lot of the money is not landing where it should, right? Because like it's a scam, right? We're getting scammed. There was this like, I think we spoke about it in a different video. There was this like $1 billion, I don't know, fucking, or 100, the thing over a million. What is over a million? Is it a billion? It's a billion, right? Like, I think they had like €1 billion they just took. We had like a system for saving up our, I know, sorry, it's getting long, but we have to finish this one. Either way, they took €1 billion, and recently they showed the numbers of how much of the money has been distributed, and it was like 50, 60, 80%, you know, and like there's like 300 million euros that should go into infrastructure, and just 40% is just gone, or just, it's somewhere, who knows, right? And and people still act like it's like everything is serious, right? That the politicians, they know, they're the professionals, right? They know what they're doing. And but that was like the only thing there was like a new thought that maybe like the CDU is like kind of exit scamming, but that would also only really work if you see like a party as its own organization, which it kind of is, right? But like the ones that really make the decisions in the country, they have ties to like the Freemasons, right? And the higher ranking social structures, the admins, basically. And they tell them what to do. So I don't know, maybe the AfD, or they don't have very good puppets in the AfD, and the better puppets are in the dying parties. So maybe they use the much influence they have right now, because like the Friedrich Merz is also like out of a Freemason family, actually. So he's probably one of the better puppets, and maybe they want to use him now until, I don't know, maybe, hard to say, right? But it was an interesting thought, that maybe the CDU, the Friedrich Merz, is exit scamming right now. I mean, he is scamming for sure, but maybe he is exit scamming because, of course, an exit scam you do is when your scam stops to work. But yeah, I don't see much change. I don't think the AfD or any right-wing party in Europe will save us. Like I said, it's a systematic problem, and in the end, the individuals you want will never come to the positions where you want them. So yeah, I don't know. And it's gotten me thinking, man. You know, I don't want to be this like egoistic, narcissistic young boy who thinks he knows it all. You know, also from a song, these young casters who think they know it all, right? And I don't think I have it all figured out or something, but I'm trying, and that's something that I can see he doesn't really want to. I mean, he doesn't want the truth, even when I could present it to him, you know. In the end, he doesn't go all the way. And if he doesn't go all the way, then I don't think his criticism matters that much to me, right? Either way. Stay safe, guys, you know. Oh my God, it's a harsh world. And I think, See you later.